Hi everyone, this is Sunette, and in this video I'd like to discuss an interesting point that opened up recently in relation to the statement, making things personal. So here we're going to discuss what that means in relation to your process within yourself. When you become exposed to, for example, certain thought patterns, ways of thinking and reacting that you've never come across, to even exist within you. In other words, an example where I was faced with making things personal was through another individual where the two of them were busy having a conversation, and the woman, she was really becoming reactive and emotional, angry, and speaking, all the things that's coming up inside of her. And the man who was in discussion with her, he was like looking at her saying, "Why are you becoming so angry? Where are all these thoughts coming from? Did you see how you've changed from one moment in this conversation? You were all calm, comfortable, and relaxed, and the next you're becoming this anger." And in a way, the man was also like pushing buttons in a way of bringing out her anger and her thoughts and her experiences, even more and more and more, until he said to her, "Why are you making what you're going through personal? Why are you taking it personally? Why are you making it as though, this experience of anger that you're in is all that you are? Why are you becoming this?" And in that moment, she realized that, wait a minute, I've got a choice here. I can either become this that I'm experiencing, all this that I'm thinking, and all these projections and ideas and misinterpretations that's coming up in me, or I can take a breath and take a step back and actually just look at this and understand it. So it was fascinating how in that moment the whole conversation just diffused, when she realized it. And from that moment on, the whole discussion changed, where she would then start speaking within a very calm, stable manner, the thoughts that were coming up, the emotions that she was experiencing. And she started directing the whole point within herself in a way of understanding where it came from, why it activated, what triggered it, what made her feel that way and experience herself that way. And she came to a moment of clarity within herself. So here to explain, what does it mean when you make, the things that's coming up inside of you or that you're going through personal, is you, in one dimension, like become it, that is all that you are and all that you're experiencing. My thoughts are who I am, my emotions are who I am, what I'm thinking, and all the inner dialogue that's coming up with all the projections and things. This is me. This is all that I am in this moment. And then the other dimension of making it personal is where, a part of you also during or even after can reflect back and go into a point of guilt or judgment or shame. So these are the 2 points I'd like to address with everyone, because if you can, within yourself and your process, get to a point of realizing that, yes, sometimes you're going to step into certain personality patterns or thought patterns and reaction patterns, but there is a part of you that always knows while you're in it and during the experience of it that, wait a minute, who am I choosing to be here? Why am I choosing or deciding to remain in the state when I know it is not only consequential for me, it is also consequential for the person who I'm communicating with? Just pushing out all that emotional energy onto someone else more often than not, brings out emotional reactions in another person, and the whole discussion and conversation becomes argumentative, attackative, fighting, and just not a cool experience for oneself and another. All right, so what assisted and supported me in my process is, the more I started to get to know my let's start with emotions, my emotional experiences such as anger, fear, anxiety, irritation, frustration, stress. That when I could recognize, that experience coming up in me, I wouldn't make it personal from the perspective of, okay, this is me, this is all that I am in this moment. I would actually take a breath and take a step back and rather understand, why is this emotion coming up? Where is it coming from? But not only that, who or what better version or potential of myself can come through, instead of me accepting and allowing that moment of thought and emotion to define me. So it's also very much about self-definition, because, in that conversation with the man and the woman, because she made it personal, her thoughts and her emotions, like, this is me, this is all that I am, it then accordingly defined her, and that's all she became. But when she took that step back and had a look at more directing, asking, reflecting, and understanding what she was going through, she realized she could redefine herself in that moment. She didn't need to go into that emotional state or become her thoughts and become that total experience. If anything, she had the ability and capacity to define herself differently in that moment. I mean, obviously the definition process in a moment happens through first, reflecting, understanding, and looking. So while your emotions are moving inside of you, while the thoughts are coming up, you actually have the space and time to slow down and kind of observe them and watch them, and ask, where did this whole pattern in me come up from, and what triggered it? Why is this happening? And then from there, you take the step of making a redefined decision and choice within yourself of who you want to be, how you want to be, how are you going to experience yourself in that moment. All right. So within this, then also the next dimension, because after the discussion, she put her head in her hands and was like, oh my goodness, why did I do that? And, forgive me, and I'm so sorry, and I couldn't believe I became that point. But then, accepting and allowing that guilt and regret and shame, and that's also in a way making the things that's going on inside of you personal, instead of realizing that you're sometimes going to be going through things, and to rather stick to and hold to what it is that you can learn from it, in a way of assisting and supporting yourself in this process of redefining who you are, and how you experience yourself within real-time moments. But for the meantime, what everyone can start practicing is, whenever those thoughts and those emotions start coming up, and they can move quite fast sometimes, is to remember you've got that choice in such a fast moment, but you've got it. It's there, where you can really take a deep in-breath and a deep out-breath. Choose not to become it, not make it personal, but rather ask yourself, what can I learn from these things that's coming up inside of me? Where are they coming from? What triggered them? Can I learn from this? And how can I redefine myself in this moment to be better for me as well as another? All right, everyone. And then also remember, when those thoughts or experiences of guilt and regret and shame come up, to remind yourself, not going to go into an emotional experience based on something that opened up in me. I'm going to remain focusing on remembering what I learned from it. Because that learning process, if I hold to that, then that has more meaning and value and worth for me. Who knows, maybe one day, someday, someone else faces a similar point or experience, and then I can assist and support them to learn as I did. All right, everyone. Thank you very much.